I think he
No.
tried.
Whoa, tripping with that man.
He looked like Batman to me.
Whoa, tripping with that man.
We didn't let him talk. As soon as I saw Batman, I said, click it.
All right, hold on, y'all. We okay. War.
Yes, sir.
War.
I can hear you.
We live.
It
All
says
right.
it's being okay.
I saw Batman.
War.
I said, click it.
War. All right, hold on, y'all. We okay. War.
Yes, sir.
War.
I can hear you. All right. Now you need to turn that off.
Okay.
YouTube.
Okay. Now let's get back on point for a minute, y'all. At least try to get on point. We live streaming to YouTube, everybody. So oh, okay. Hold on. Let's get back on point for a minute, y'all. At least try to get on point. We live streaming to YouTube, everybody. So oh, okay. Who got that background?
I thought it was you.
Nah, shit everything down.
Seems like it's gone away now.
Okay, all right. Let's get on point. Everybody, please forgive me. Somebody still got some background going, don't you? Nah, shit everything down.
Seems like it's gone away now.
Okay, all right. Let's get on point. Everybody. Okay, I think that was me, y'all.
Yeah.
I've been messing up all day.
Messing up, boy.
I had a window open and didn't realize it. But anyway, my man, y'all forgive me. Please forgive me. Please do not let this reflect on the Panther 48 as a whole. I'm gonna take this on myself. I did this.
Oh man, I like.
Humbly apologize.
I like.
I humbly apologize. Anyway, let's get to it. This is the Panther 48. This is your brother Syke. I messed up the live today. I apologize. I messed up the live. Anyway, I'm gonna go left to right like I always do. Once again, we got the brother Chairman Yang and Nkrumah of the People's Black Panther Party coming out of Atlanta. We appreciate you for coming on, brother.
Thank you for having me.
Peace. If you have not, and you like content that we drop, go check our brother Chairman Yang and Nkrumah's channel, YouTube channel, and especially check out his breakdown, his videos on the different Panther developments. We got brother E calling out of Florida. I'm not going to do a long, illustrious build up on brother E. I'm just going to make it plain. That's brother E.
Make it plain. Appreciate it.
We got now I'm gonna let this brother introduce himself because again it's my fault. I came on late, but we got another guest in the on the Zoom with us today. Brother, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell the listening audience something about you.
Brother Osar.
Brother Osar.
Oh, that brother Osar again? Yeah, brother Osar look completely different.
I'm in Cognegro. I'm good, bro.
Yeah. And we got brother Robert Wall Williams calling out of California. The brother is the chairman of the Black Panther San Diego chapter of the Black Panther Party, and he's the chief of staff under Chairman Yang and Nkrumah of the People's Black Panther Party.
All power to the people, folks, those that deserve it. Let's get on.
Ain't that what brother Hassan you say all the time? All power to the people that deserve it.
Yes, sir. Panther power to the Vanguard.
Yeah. Anyway, we're gonna start off today's show. We're gonna build on recent events in the news. You know, I know everybody heard about the Buffalo incident, but we're not just gonna build specifically on that particular event. We're gonna use that event as a springboard to talk about the what inspires people to go into these mass shootings. And we tend to believe that, especially with that particular situation with that guy, that white supremacy has its roots in some of the causes, at least the ideology, especially when it's fed to people that don't completely comprehend ideology and philosophical ideas. But Brother War, for the people that might not know what has happened recently in Buffalo, could you give us a quick breakdown of that?
All right, so let me just be real brief on that part, but then I do want to get into some of his ideology.
All right.
And then let us go on that. Basically on May 14th, a cat named Peyton arrived at a top store in Buffalo, New York at 2:30 p.m., heavily armed, wearing tactical gear, which included a tactical helmet along with plated armor. And he had a camera and was live streaming his action. What he ended up doing was shooting 13 people killing 10. And the nature of his shooting was basically racial. On May the 13th, the day before, he wrote on a post that he was doing that he had actually entered the top store at 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and at 4 o'clock to basically do surveillance, do a layout, and map out the store. And then when he was asked, he was questioned at around the 4 o'clock time, why he kept going in and out the store. And he basically said that he was collecting census data. And then, like I said, the following day on May 14th, he went back into the store and shot up basically as many Black people as he could get off. And also, one thing I do want to note, at one point when he was live, right when the live stream was ending, he was apologizing to one white dude that he almost shot, showing that he was very cognizant of what he was doing. Now, what I want to touch on real quick was his manifesto. He wrote a very lengthy manifesto, and throughout parts of his manifesto, there are certain things that I think that's important that we should highlight that kind of give you an idea of his motives, as well as things that the neo-Nazi white supremacy, quote unquote, so-called white supremacy movement utilizes to gear up and ignite their situation. And basically what he says, I'm just going to speak a little bit on this. He said, the truth is my personal life and experiences are no value. I'm simply a white man seeking to protect and serve my community, my people, my culture, and my race. He also went on to saying, basically gave question and answers about why he carried out the attack. And what he said was to show to the replacers that as long as the white man lives, our lands will never be theirs, and they will never be safe from us. To directly reduce immigration rates to European lands by intimidating and physically removing the replacers themselves. These are his words directly. I'm not verbatim. I'm not ad-libbing. I'm reciting exact words. Another part here is to intimidate the replacers already living on our lands and to immigrate back to their home countries. Appreciate that, Brother Syke. Another thing he said, to agitate the political enemies of my people into actions to cause them to overextend their own hand and experience the eventual inedible backlash as a result, to incite violence, retaliation, and further divide between European people and the replacers currently occupying European soil, to show the effects of direct action like a path forward for those who wish to follow. A path for those that wish to free their ancestors' land from the replacers' grasp, and be a beacon for those that wish to create a lasting culture to tell them they are not alone, to create an atmosphere of fear and change in which drastic and powerful revolutionary action can occur. And then another aspect he said here, we must ensure the existence of our people and a future for white children. And he said, what do you represent? He also asked himself, what do you represent? He said he represents millions of Europeans and ethno-nationalist people that wish to live in peace amongst their own people, living in their own lands, practicing their own traditions, and deciding the future of their own kind. I'm just kind of going down some of these points here. Are you a fascist? He said, yes, fascism is the only political ideology that will unite whites against the replacers. Since that is what I am seeking, calling me a fascist would be accurate. Are you a white supremacist? Yes, I will call myself a white supremacist. After all, which white race is responsible for the world we live in today? I believe the white race is superior to the brain and to all other races. Are you a racist? He said, yes, I am a racist because I believe in differences in the capability between the races. And then I want to mention this one more point, and then I'll let us talk, and then we can double back on some of these if we need to. He said, children are always innocent. Do you think you are a monster for killing the innocent? Children of the replacers do not stay children. They become adults and reproduce, creating more replacers to replace your people. They grow up and vote against your people's own wishes for the interests of their own people and identity. They grow up and take potential homes of your people for themselves. They occupy positions of power, remove the wealth, and destroy social trust. And one last thing here. Do not allow your enemies to grow unchecked. When you discover a nest of vipers in your yard, do you spare the adolescents? Do you allow them to grow freely, openly? To one day they will bite your child as they play in their own backyard. No, you burn the nest and kill the vipers no matter what their age. So there and that's all I wanted to say on that. So basically he justified all of the actions that he perpetrated and wrote I think it's 180-page manifesto describing all of this prior to the taking on the attack. Go ahead, Syke.
All right. I'm gonna ask you one more question, then I want E to break down and build on something for me. You other brothers, if y'all feel like getting in on this, y'all can too. And I know that it's asking a lot to ask you to interpret this, and I'm not for that you to interpret the whole thing, but I'm just asking simply, what do you think an 18-year-old got this concept and this ideology? I mean, did he make this up, or is this already an ideology that was formatted and passed to him through somebody?
Well, the idea of the replacement theory is something that's been out there for quite a while in the circles of white supremacy. And it simply goes into the fact that it is inedible that the white race is not the majority of the world population. That's a known fact. It's basically been a reality that has been suppressed upon the people. And those that believe in that movement and try to operate from that movement realize that the planet is changing and that their genetic trait is inferior in terms of reproduction. So from that standpoint, being that they want to change those dynamics, they want to stay in power, they have to come up with ways to justify oppressing the actual majority of the world population, and comes up with ways of justifying their control over the world as the quote unquote superior race, which is what white supremacy is supposed to mean to them, is that regardless of the world population, there is a specific race that is supposed to be over the rest of the world. And in order for them to justify that, they come up with this. And the idea of the replacement theory just goes into the fact that they do not want to allow themselves and create conditions that will continue to perpetuate the idea and the legacy that they see dwindling away from them. And so what he did basically tap into was something that's already been out there for quite some time and is constantly preached upon, and he was radicalized as a result of that. But I would like to even take it a step further, and I don't necessarily look at him as being radicalized. I look at him as really just speaking upon what he sees truths in terms of how white people typically can feel in terms of being privileged, especially how this population goes. Go ahead, Yanga, jump in on that.
Just jump in there with that. And I so agree. And first of all, Minister, sorry, I didn't recognize you, man. Salute. I didn't give the proper greeting and acknowledgement when I came on. It's always good to see you again, sir.
Yes, sir.
One of the things is when you talk about, like you were saying about, I don't know how radicalized either. It seems to me, listening to his manifesto, that it was hodgepodge and snippets of this and that. And I question how thoroughly he understood what he was placing together. You picked up on what I picked up on immediately, and it was the replacement theory. And his particular gripe under the replacement theory was aimed at immigrants. So I don't understand how his actions correlate to his rhetoric about the replacement theory, about immigration and stuff like that. You would think it would have been, it's all senseless. There again, it's that's how white men defy their masculinity, but I know that's another part of the discussion. But I would just say that it all looks hodgepodge. He looks like a confused, angry white male going through what they go through, and he just started pulling from the internet or whatever. I would very seriously doubt if he even belonged to seriously any one organization. His manifesto is very hodgepodge.
E, can you give us Because we've had historians, theorists come up with concepts and ideas to kind of explain the that white fear of the so-called replacers taking over and removing them from their interests. Can you kind of build on that a little bit for us and break that down? Because you broke it down so eloquently before when we've had these discussions. Could you please express that with the crowd?
Oh, well, thanks for not putting any pressure on me there, bro. Appreciate that. So, racism, white supremacy is best understood as a system designed, created, maintained by a group of people who identify themselves as being white for the express purpose of maintaining, manipulating, control, and exploitation of all of those people that they identify as not white. So basically, it's a global system designed to manipulate, control, and exploit brown folk. In a nutshell, Europeans that's one aspect of it. On top of the control and all of these things are typically a means. They're not an end. People don't control things for the sake of controlling things. They control things to affect something. And what they're ultimately attempting to affect is the reality. And the reality is that the only combination that gets you white babies is a white man and a white woman. Europeans have used all types of tactics to maintain this perception of their superiority because they don't want to be, and the white dude is correct. It's a mathematical eventuality. It's just logic. Math proves it out. Eventually, if people are able to miscegenate and to interact and to reproduce, white people will be gone. That's just the way it is. So all of this supposedly new idea of replacement, they've finally given it a name, replacement theory. It's coming. And this is one of the things that makes me happy because it lets me know, just before the enemy strikes, he shows his hand. You have to open up your guard in order to throw a strike. Well, as they get ready, we're seeing more and more of this being put out there. 50 years ago, they wouldn't have talked about openly the replacement theory, though this is what they were working off of. And they weren't talking about just the United States. So this idea that they're being replaced, which is crazy since they just fucking got here a little while ago, you're not being replaced. You just, things going back to the way they were. But Europeans will be, fucked out of existence. That's just the reality of it. And subconsciously they know this. So in order to maintain their status and their very existence, they have to have some type of system in order to keep that control. We have to remember that whiteness and this whole idea of whiteness is a new term even for white people. The idea of white, initially back in like the 15 and 1600s over there in Europe and especially England and places like that, white was a term that got applied to white women. These pale, pasty chicks, maid women that didn't have to work. Her pasty, soft skin showed that she was a high order and didn't have to work. Because if you're having to work, you're out in the sun, you turn brown and whatnot. So if you were brown, that means you had to work for your living. So you were of the lower class. White was the ultimate elitist class. And over time, of course, that class being very small, white men didn't want that term applied to them initially because, even them don't want to be identified as being lazy and shiftless and not working for theirs. So they wouldn't want to be identified as white. But as time went on, the need for allies and the identifying with the privileges of whiteness, because whiteness initially was something that applied to the Anglo-Saxon folk. It wasn't just everybody white. Irish people wasn't white. All these other people wasn't white. White was very specific. But over time, it grew to encompass all of these other shades, if you will, of whiteness. And because, they got to have allies, and those folks identify with that mentality and all of those things because they came out of, those people that identify as white came out of the same historic generation, the same genesis, if you will. And I know, Syke, you're going to touch on that more. But the reality of it is, in order for them to exist, they have to maintain a position of authority and control over all of those who genetically can destroy them. The black man can, and again, this is the root of why the black man is seen as such a threat. It's not the muscles. It's not because, you know, LeBron can play ball or Tyson's the best or whatever. It's because of black semen, because of the black man. If a man, and I'm gonna use this example, it's crude, deal with it. You know me, I don't care, but deal with it. In order for, if physical rape only really goes one direction, man on woman. A woman can't rape a man simply because in the midst of fear, man cannot maintain an erection. So a woman can't force semen out of a white man. You know, a black woman can't force that semen out, but a black man can force his semen into a white woman, thereby creating more of his own kind. That's why we're a threat, because we have the utility, because we have the utensils, the tools, we have the ammunition, if you will, to impose our genetic will on them, and they have nothing to combat that. So, you know, in the ISIS papers by Francis Cress Welsing, or the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept by Neely Fuller, they talk about white genetic annihilation. And especially Sister Welsing in the ISIS papers talks about these different, the ball games, you know, how you have the like things like baseball and tennis. Initially, you know, tennis balls are yellow now, they used to be white, but you have most of the balls that you hit and try to get away from you are little white balls. Baseball, golf, ping pong, these are little white balls. And typically there's a big brown stick of some sort that you hit the white ball away from. Where on the other hand, the brown ball games tend to be games in which the object is to grab the ball, protect the ball, and either put the ball between the uprights, some legs, or into the hoop, into the goal, into the womb of the game. So these are subconscious expressions of what it is they know to be a reality. That we can, like on a pool table, have all of these colored balls on the table and there's one white ball going around slapping everybody. I mean, and these may seem like just really far out there. Are you stretching, you reaching, or that's just some stuff they say. But the reality of it is there's a little bit of truth in all of these things that are going on. If we step back and look at this white dude that shot up these folks, me personally, I don't have an emotional reaction to it. It's just kind of, yeah, happened again, because it does continue to happen, because he has been indoctrinated with this ideology, this mentality, that and the fact that the dude was just crazy. I mean, this cat wore a hazmat suit to school, to high school for like a week. I mean, he legit went to psychiatric evaluation because when they said what he was supposed to write a paper about what you want to do when you grow up, he said, I want to shoot a bunch of people. So they sent him for a psych evaluation. He was like, I was just playing. I was trying to get out of class. They were like, okay, go back to class. So this same type of scenario happens over and over again, you know, and it's not coincidence. It's stuff to keep you distracted. They try to say this white dude is connected somehow to, what do you call that? Homegrown terrorism. And they passed a bill just this past week or so, establishing this Homeland Security Office of essentially looking for domestic terrorists in this country, because again, they're trying to relate that back so they can open it up on all of us. But the reality of it is this dude wasn't wearing any, that I saw, any insignias from any US-based neo-Nazi or white nationalist organization. But a couple of the pictures I did see were, I forget the name of it, but it's some type of a sun. But the logo, the picture that he had on some of his armor and whatnot he was wearing was actually the same visuals, the same picture, the same logo that the Azov battalion in Ukraine had. And understand, remember, Ukraine is essentially a bunch of white nationalists, a bunch of neo-Nazis. That's who they are. That's what they do. They make no bones about it. They don't fuck Jews, fuck niggas, fuck Spics, fuck all of them. That's what they roll from. And so this is very much what he was representing. So, you know, racism, he's not racism and white supremacy. He's just a fool. He's just a guy. He's just a pawn in the game. Racism and white supremacy is us, or not us, because I don't, but the masses of y'all with these little yellow and gold, or was it blue and gold flags and ribbons talking about supporting Ukraine. You supporting neo-Nazis. So fuck you. I mean, basically, I mean, you want to get down to it. If you're going to represent fucking nationalist organization that wants to see the destruction of African people, fuck you. You don't know it. I get it. I understand it, but you've had enough time to figure it out. So that's what it is. You know, and that's racism, white supremacy. Got you sending money, supporting woo-ha, the cats that want to see you annihilated. That's game. Fuck your game. Black people ain't got game. White folk got game. White folk got game looking at you, got you looking at Ukraine, racism, white supremacy, sending billions of dollars. They had a COVID relief bill that they were going to send out more money. At the last minute, they said, no, let's send this money to Ukraine. Sent it to Ukraine, like $40 billion. That's game. That's racism, white supremacy. Racism, white supremacy has you concerned about Ukraine and the plight of those people, but not the brown folks in Yemen. They've been getting bombed by U.S. bombs by the Saudis for years. They have you looking at Ukraine instead of looking at the sanctions that the U.S. is starting to impose on Ethiopia and Eritrea and the terrorists that the U.S. is supporting there in the civil war that's going on in Ethiopia. That's racism, white supremacy. You're not concerned about the Palestinians. You're concerned about these white boys who want to murder you and how much money you can get over to them and support them because some movie star said to, or some senile ass president and his stupid step and fetch it second in command told y'all to feel that way. So that's racism, white supremacy. That dude is irrelevant. Give me that dude any time of day or night on the street, one-on-one, cool. That's not a problem. The problem is the system that has our fool asses putting money and supporting shit that's directly intended to destroy us. That's fucking game. That's game on a whole nother level. I don't care what you got to say. I'm done.
I was getting ready to hit that comma on you, brother.
You have to be done. You just took the entire show.
My bad. I told you put a time on and hold a sheet up or something. I tried to tell you.
No, you're all right. You're all right. I want to ask. I want to put this out here because we got to. Eden took off to all kind of current events going on in the world. Ukraine.
I got to get them in. We don't like to talk about current events no more. People don't like to talk about what's going on.
Let me ask you this. I do got to ask this. Then I'm gonna ask an open question for everybody. I do got it because you kept saying it. You kept saying it. And I think we need to define it or get an idea of what you're talking about. You say you're not worried about the average that white guy. You're not worried about him. He was crazy. He was showing up to school in a hazmat suit, you know, and it made me think, you just said something that made me think about a few things that I've seen online lately. I think it was a TikTok video with this brother. He was saying every time they do these shootings, they go to some church or some supermarket or something. Why don't they come to the hood? Why they don't come through Compton or come through South Dallas or come through Oak Cliff, come through some of these hoods where you got people that can actually go to battle with you, that's ready for this, that's prepared for this, that lives in this state of emergency every single day. Come to these places and shoot up black people because these are the so-called quote unquote lowest of the lowest of black people. So these should be the ones that you should be wanting to stomp out. But I want to ask this question because you kept differentiating him from racism and white supremacy. You kept saying that's white racism, white supremacy. That's racism, white supremacy. What is racism, white supremacy? Give me a definition or work up a definition for it so I can comprehend it and understand it. Because the average person might think racism and white supremacy is bigotry. I just don't like Mexicans. I don't like black people. That's racism, right?
Well, hopefully other people would listen. You weren't paying any no attention. What's wrong with you, man? Racism, white supremacy is a system designed, maintained by people who identify themselves as white for the purpose of control. Let's keep it to one word, control of those people that they identify as not white so that they can maintain their position of authority to keep themselves from being genetically annihilated. So he's not racism, white supremacy, just the way a rook or a pawn in a chess game is not a chess game. It's just a piece. He's being manipulated and moved around like all the rest of us are. So he's not racism, white supremacy. Racism is like socialism, just like capitalism. Capitalism is based on capital. Ism is a system. So racism is a system based on race. And white supremacy is the only known system of oppression based on race. Being a black racist or any other type of racist is nonsense. Simply because, like Khaled said, nothing I say on this show tonight is going to have any effect on your life, period. So the system that's in place is a system to maintain this authority and control. It's the only form of racism in the known universe, and this is Francis Cress Welsing saying this, the only form of racism in the known universe is white supremacy. White people are the only people who have the control, the ability to sit up and start world wars, to sit up and exploit entire continents, to sit up and again have us spending and signing and co-signing and cheering on the rescuing of a group of people who want to destroy us. That's racism, white supremacy. Racism, white supremacy is the system that protected that boy and allowed him to get to where he was. Racism, white supremacy is the system that teaches you that Africa is a bunch of niggas with bones in their noses running around talking about ooga booga. Racism, white supremacy is this entire system. Every time you open the door, if you're, especially, and this is particularly to African people here in this country who've never been home, but every time we open the door and we don't see the pyramids or we don't see the Serengeti, anytime we open our front door and walk outside and we see anything but Africa, that's racism, white supremacy. And until that's acknowledged, until white folk can acknowledge, yes, you are racist because you've been taught to be racist. You can't name me a single thing about African people that they like to say, oh, we're all God's people, we're all this. No, tell me what it is about African people that's worth being respected. Then I can start saying, okay, maybe you have some respect, but you're still a racist because you're playing on their team. That's just the way it is. You don't get to opt in just the way we don't get to opt out. White folks are racist because the system is set up to make sure that white folks succeed. That's the simplest terms I can put it. Racism, white supremacy is a system in place to make sure that all of those that are cleared to be white get to succeed. And if you fail in that system and you're a white person, you are pathetic, period. Does that work?
I got a question though, just real quick, and I'm not sure how deep we can even get into it. In his manifesto,
it's not, let's not call it a manifesto. A manifesto has a certain amount of respect. The Communist Manifesto, the Unabomber's Manifesto. These are a list of points of contention and things to do and all of these declarations. This dude was rambling. He took some shit he read, fucking high school student. I doubt this kid could even spell manifesto right without seeing it written down. It was some shit he wrote in a notebook. And so white folks are trying to give it legitimacy by saying a manifesto. It wasn't no manifesto. This dude had a notebook and had to sit in detention, so he wrote some shit down. Fuck that.
E,
my bad.
There's some hope for you yet. There's hope for you yet, bro. We're gonna keep working with you, E. There's some hope for you, brother. Right on, man. Right on.
Let's say this then. In his writings, he did distinguish between his white nationalist perspective and that of Jews, and spoke on how he hates the Jews from that standpoint and referred to himself as being anti-Semitic. So now you're talking about two different types of white people fighting each other and hating each other. And he made sure he draw a distinguishing line between his feelings toward African people and toward what he called the replacers, as well as the white Jews who he also draw hatred towards. Where does that fit in terms of this white supremacy?
Well, white people have been just as tribal as anybody else. White people like to fight, give a fuck who it is. They'll fight their granny for a corncob pipe or some liquor or some shit. White people will fight anybody for any fucking reason at any given point in time of the day. But the reality of it is, yeah, it's tribal. I mean, it's just like the Catholic Church and the government or whoever. They were bashing heads. You know, the king and the Catholic Church, the king wanted to get divorced, blah, blah, blah. So they bumped heads. Well, this group of white people wants control. This group of people wants control. So they bump heads. But on top of that, a lot of the white supremacists, these cats, some of them are quite intelligent. Metzger and them, I think, first ones I heard say something about it. But the reality of it is, because Judaism is a fucking religion, it's not a race, and that's some nonsense we need to get out of our heads. This is a religion. Whoopi Goldberg's a fucking Jew. You can't tell me she's white. You can't tell me Judaism is about a race of people. It's not about a race of people. It's about a fucking religion and a clique and a crew and a culture, just like everything else. So some of them understand, realize, and identify the roots of Judaism being in Ethiopia, being in Africa, and drawing from that, and want to cleave that from their reality and their timeline as well. It's a lot of white supremacists who will tell you straight up. Matter of fact, Hitler wasn't real fond of Mussolini. He did it, you know, because it was tactical and whatnot, but because the Italians are, you know, have a little brown olive skin, because their hair is a little bit quote unquote nappy, kinky, or whatever, because they saw in them some impurities and whatnot. So that's why all this shit is so convoluted, and the whole idea of race being nonsense, but it came from them. So, okay, we'll let it slide. We're going to play your game and get ourselves out of this. But yeah, Judaism is fucking religion, and they throw that shit in there just for the confused sake. The reality of it is African people have to solidify around what we know to be the truth, so that whether they come at us and say, hey, we hate niggas, but we like Jews, or we like Jews, but we don't like niggas, or whatever combination, however they want to swirl it up, it doesn't fucking matter. We're still who we are. And that's why I say cats like him writing manifestos and all, you don't even understand. You don't have any concept of what it is you're supposedly fighting for. He's just another pawn. He played his part, and the system will do whatever it does to protect him, or to whatever degree they can, because they're gonna have to give up some because it was obvious and whatnot, but it'll be another measure for gun control and everything else, and disarming people and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, so the Jew thing is just another fucking hoax. Judaism is a religion. I can be a Jew tomorrow if I chose to. So don't, you know, bullshit. What else?
And and that leads to another, you just led us to another question, or something that we need to look at, because every time one of these mass shootings happen, one of the main things that they start talking about is gun control, gun control, gun control. Now, here's the question. Do y'all, and this is a hell of a question to ask brothers like y'all, but do y'all believe that the country needs more gun control, or do y'all believe that those type of situations could be checked better if more people had weapons and training?
Let Saw speak on that first. And also, Saw, as you jump in on that, what kind of explain to tell the public what's a Bushmaster? Some people don't know what that is.
Well, the first question is, does gun control lead to safer streets or safer society? And the answer is no, because murder is murder. If they outlaw guns, I can take a knife and kill you. I could take a screwdriver and kill you. It doesn't work. They tried it in Europe, England, they tried it, and more knife homicides went up. So it doesn't work. I'm here in Texas, and right now we have constitutional carry. So even though I'm a concealed carry license holder, I have that as a credential behind me, but now in Texas, it's constitutional carry. You don't need a license to carry a firearm. As long as you're not a felon and you can purchase that weapon, you can carry that weapon concealed or open carry. So it's wild, wild west. And everybody's fear when it comes to the 2A is that more guns and apocalypse will lead to more homicides. And I believe that it's just the opposite, because I haven't heard of more people being shot. People are not doing the OK Corral, and there's not gun battles in the street of Dallas or Texas, you know. But it doesn't work, you know, to disarm a populace. And I believe that's why I love Texas, and I love states that have constitutional carry, because the police can't save you. By the time the police get to where you're at, it's going to be over. The boogeyman and the wolf will be on, you know, ate you, you know. So in Texas, it was like the governor or whoever, and then the legislation said, no, we believe that Texans should be able to carry firearms and be able to defend themselves. Anytime they do that, I think that they're already projecting that shit is fit to get bad. I believe that it's no more like the Homeland Security will tell you, you guys, you know, on their own website, you guys need to have a 72, you guys need to have something prepared for at least 72 hours or, you know, months of rations. They're telling you before they do it. So no, that doesn't work. And I think that Black people all over this state and all over the country should be advocates of 2A, because they're going to try it. And we know that the most people that are pro 2A, you could be Republican, and you can label them a Republican, or mostly they're white, but 60% of Black people are the newest gun owners in this country since COVID-19. 60% of African Americans are new gun owners. People that said they would never buy a gun, and they believe that the police protect them, are out there buying guns now. So there's a shift in what's going on, and I think Black people really needs to pay attention and understand that as far as mass shootings, and you have to police yourself. You are your own security, your own self-defense. It starts with situational awareness, and people have to get serious about their own self-defense and their own protection when it comes to this, because mass shootings are not going anywhere. You can ban all the guns you want to. This is the key. Like we say, you can ban the guns, but the outlaw, he's not going to go through a background check. If I wanted a gun right now, I'm saying, and didn't feel like going through the proper way, I can go hit the hood right now and get a gun. So banning guns is not the answer. There's so many guns right now in the United States of America. You can arm every family in the United States of America with 6 firearms per household per capita in the United States of America. So that's not the answer.
I agree with brother Saul on that about banning guns and not the answer. As he just said, if they didn't have guns, then a person could kill. You can't hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you're real quiet.
Oh,
that's better.
But
a little too laid back, a little too mellow. Come on.
But as the brother was saying, a gun doesn't necessarily make a person a killer. If we didn't have guns, then people would use knives or clubs or bats or sticks or whatever it was that they needed to use. And on another note, the person that's a criminal, that's a career criminal, he doesn't get his guns through the legal means. He doesn't follow those channels. So he's definitely not going to get rid of his gun because you say that you ban guns or you ban certain types of guns. The only people going to be affected by that is legal gun owners. If we look at Panther history, all the way back to Hugh and Bobby and the boys, as Brother E like to call them, all the way up even to when the new Black Panther Party was being founded in Dallas, when we was on our way to go to I think it was Jasper, when we was on our way to Jasper. And if y'all remember that night, we was leaving up there by the Forest Theater where Munn used to have his bookstore at I think it was Knowledge of Self, Cultural Insights. We were leaving Cultural Insights, and a cop pulled up. I think he was by himself, and he jumped out, and he threw a fit. But you could tell he was afraid, because we wasn't out in uniform and stuff. We were still kind of plain clothes, dark jeans, black, things like that. But here it was, he had this large group of young men, everybody with shotguns and rifles and things like this being loaded in the vehicle. So, he was terrified, but he didn't act the way a cop would usually act when stopping the average dude in the streets. He didn't act like that. He didn't run up on us. He didn't try to disarm us.
I got bro. That cop was a setup, man. And it was me that jumped out because he pulled my car over, and it was me that went off the officer. He had been sitting across the street watching us inside the building the whole time. And I let it be known, because I was the lead vehicle, that I guarantee you, as soon as we pull off, this cop is gonna pull us over. And lo and behold, he did. So what had happened is when I got out the car, I confronted him on the fact that he had been sitting across the street watching us the whole time, and that he had every intention on pulling me over and writing me a ticket for nothing. And that's exactly what happened. Yeah. And, not to deviate from the situation, but that's when Malik got upset with me, because he was like, you about to blow the whole operation, because here you go cursing out an officer and threatening an officer, so to speak, when we got bigger plans. But my whole position was basically just to confront that black cop for being part of this goddamn scheme, that knowing that we was on the surveillance by them, knowing that he had every intention on pulling us over, knowing he had every intention on trying to create a situation so that we wouldn't get where we trying to go. So what I did, the reason why he was acting the way he was is because I called him on his bullshit, and I made him feel bad about the fact that he was used as a pawn to try to stop something big. So what happened, and what we was witnessing on his face, was a reality check on what side he was on. he started recognizing that he fucking up. What started flashing through his head is that, damn, am I really a cop for the right reason? Am I a black man first, or am I a blue first? So I fucked with his emotions. I fucked with his psychology, and that was my intent. So I just want to clarify that.
When did that happen?
You don't remember that? Well, you was right there.
Oh, was I?
He wasn't in the lead vehicle, so he didn't know what was going on. Remember that was one of them situations where just me, Aaron, Khaled, and Malik, where we was, we was having the quote unquote leadership meetings. Y'all wouldn't known about what was going on at the time.
Oh, some assholes made me sit in the back. I don't appreciate that shit.
You saw the stop though. You was there with the stop because you were with me. No. But anyway, back to the point. So if gun control is not the answer, because I mean we see this, we constantly see these and we can't even just say all whites because of the DC sniper, because of this guy. We can't even just say all whites, but we see certain people using access to weapons for these mass shootings. How do the people prepare for something like this? How do we deal with this without being just straight victims of people being murdered at somebody else's will?
Let me say this. I saw someone that was like trying to down self-defense groups and gun clubs, and they were like, well, where were they at? Anytime that we ever tried to, organize our people and train our people, we understood that just like the police, you cannot be around 24 hours a day, that we are our own police, we are our own self-defense. And what we advocate for is training. What we advocate for is knowledge, because just situational awareness would have saved a lot of people. I have a security background, and what we teach in us and an active shooter is 3 things are going to happen. You're either going to flee, you're going to hide, or you're going to fight. First thing you want to do is flee. You want to run as fast as you weigh from the scene if you can. The second thing you want to do is hide, take cover. You got to educate yourself and start to train yourself on what is take cover. Do you understand what cover and concealment is? Cover is something, a structured background that if bullets flying, this protects me. Concealment is something that hides you, and the boogeyman and the wolf might not see you. He might pass by you. The last thing you want to train somebody is to fight. Fight for your life. If you don't have a weapon, and I know the man had an AR-15 or some type of military rifle, but at the end of the day, you've got to pick up something. They train us that if you don't got a weapon, go get a fire extinguisher. We have to learn self-defense. We have to learn tactics. We have to learn situational awareness. We have to learn self-defense, hand-to-hand combat. We have to learn the art of the knife, the blade. And we have to do whatever we have to do. And know that if it happens, hey man, your life is already, you're going to die anyway. But you've got to make up that mind. That third thing is fight. You have to make up your mind. At that point, there is no running. There is no hiding. There's no covering concealment. I'm fixing to fight for my life. We got to understand firearms training. And it's a shame that they're up in New York. And I know they have gun restrictions, but you still have to learn the art of combat. You have to learn where your soft targets are. You have to learn if it was a shootout and someone did have a gun, if he has body armor on, you're aiming for the chest. And we know that the security officer, the police officer who used to be a Buffalo retired police and working security, he engaged him, but he was shooting into his body armor. He engaged him, but he was wearing a helmet. But he didn't, I don't know if he tried, but he should have been going for the lower extremities. He should have been going for the groin area. He should have been going to just take out his legs. Once he's down, he could have walked him down with the rest of the shots. When you realize that your shots ain't affecting you, you need to do something called a Y shot. And that shot goes like a Y zipper from the top of your groin up to the breastplate and back down. A femoral artery is right here in your leg. A femoral artery is one shot, or 22 to take out. You can die from that. A blade strike to a femoral artery, there is no coming back from a well-placed shot or a blade to the femoral artery. You will bleed out. Again, we need to learn the tactics. We need to learn the art of self-defense. Guns, you can go get all the guns you want to. Got a lot of them, look good, ARs, AKs, lights, lasers, Gucci Glocks, and everything else. But if you're not going out getting tactical training, if you don't know how to do combat reloads with one hand, if you don't know how to make transitions from a rifle to a pistol, if you don't know what if this hand goes down, can you engage and shoot with your left? This ain't nothing to play with. We guns ain't the problem. Our people have guns because we use them on each other every night. But if Black people, when I started this, I heard somebody say, well, where was the gun clubs and where was the Panthers and all of that? That's not our mission. What these gun clubs and what these formations should be doing is training the local populace to defend themselves. Because we always said that as Panthers, we can come down here and we can break out the guns and we can march through the cities and we can do the Jaspers. We've done that so many times. But when I was Minister of Defense, I was like, well, it's not so much about us coming down here and making a stand, and we need to make a stand with the guns, but no, we need to go amongst the local populace and we need to train them. Because when we leave here, when the sun go down, I'm not going to be down here when the clans start riding. They are. And if you understand guerrilla warfare, then that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be training up the populace. We're supposed to go in there, train them up so they can do the job themselves, because we can't police. We don't have the budget to police this. We don't have, I would love to have a budget to put a military. Wouldn't it be beautiful to take an army, a standing army, and put it in the heart of Chicago to squash that violence?
Not fucking around.
Yeah, not fucking around, because you talk about revolution and we talk about Malcolm. I think Malcolm was giving the story about before the revolution starts and Mao now was executing motherfuckers. It's like, we're going to get free. And I used to think of me being a general, what would I do? You have to go in there and you have to put down the resistance. Anybody who ain't with this shit got to go. I get it. That's some hardcore stuff. Nobody want to talk about that, but that's the reality of it. We've got to stop, you know what I'm saying, looking for someone to come save us, looking for someone to come protect us, and we need to be pro when it comes to self-defense tactics, training, and survival. No one's coming to the rescue. The Panthers can't save you. Huey P. Newton gun can't save you. Geronimo Pratt Gun Club can't save you. We've done that. We've done all the armed demonstrations. That's good. It looks good. We just did it last November. Brought a coalition of people all from the United States of America, and we marched through the city of Dallas, Texas, all through the projects. And, you know, you got all these people. It looked good. It was strong. Sisters out there with weapons, and we're actually marching through South Dallas. We're going through the hoods and ghettos. And people, oh my God, we've been waiting for y'all. People taking pictures. That's all good and window dressing. But what the fuck did that do? It looked good. It was strong for about 3 or 4 hours. We took pictures and high-fived and saluted, but we didn't go in there and we didn't teach them people how to do it themselves. And what I love, that there were people that was down with observation participation. I saw the old school one got a M1 Garand and came out there with us. I saw the young brothers going to get their stuff. That's good. But after that, it should have been follow-ups. It should have been training. It should have been tactical training. It should be teaching. You know what I'm saying? Again, we cannot police the Black community. We don't have the
resources.
The resources, thank you, bro. We don't have the resources to do it, but what we can do is take cadre of brothers, get in those pockets, and start organizing with these street tribes and saying, hey man, this is how it's gonna go down. And they're gonna respect the G. They're gonna respect the G of it. You know, we need to come back with that, you know, the G code when we E and War, when we went over there to, you know what I'm saying, South Dallas projects, and we had our Panther stuff on, but we just went amongst the brothers while they were slamming dominoes, and we began to engage, and Khaled was good at that. We've got to meet our people where they at, and we got to seriously start talking about survival training. We got to start talking about that. When we went into Katrina, the heroes wasn't the so-called military, and it was young brothers that were organizing themselves on the street level that was making sure mother got the medicine and people had rations to eat. The street tribes took over and made sure the block was all right. We got to go back to that because that's practical. And again, mass shootings ain't going nowhere. We as Black people got to start preparing for them to be more frequent and know if something happens, know how to react and how to respond to it.
I want to add real quick on that, just as a point. The same weekend, there was a church shooting that had took place here in California, to where you had, I believe it was a Taiwanese that walked into a Chinese church. And basically what had happened was the point was for him to shoot up. He planned on shooting up the church and killing some folks. But what you had is you had some that rushed him. You had, actually, it was a doctor that had rushed him, right, and took the majority of the heat and ended up dying. But he rushed him good enough to drop him, make him fall down, and other folks ran in and rushed him and disarmed him. Whereas had people had the fright mentality and they all start taking off running, then they would have just all been getting shot in the back the same way. So kind of going back to what Brother Osar is talking about, is our people have to take on a defensive posture no matter what. Our lifestyle needs to be based around defense and offense, because if we have this mentality to where we're going to run, you can't outrun bullets, man. You can't outrun bullets. And time again, what we see is, instead of folks knowing how to pick up a can of beans and make it happen, and throwing them at them or doing something and risking their lives, then I think that would curb a lot of this. Because as long as you know that the people are going to be fearful and run, you create that atmosphere. And one thing I want to correct and speak on is the idea of terrorism. Dude. Terrorism works when it is able to bring a whole population to its knees. The idea of a sniper, let's just talk about that. The concept of a sniper is the fact that a sniper typically can pin down an entire battalion or entire operation, simply because nobody wants to be the first one dead. Nobody wants to risk their life and deal with the consequences. And that terrorism that is created through that, and that fear, is what keeps people at bay. That fear of death and fear of dying and inability to protect yourself is what these people look forward to and feed off of. So even going back to the documents that he wrote, the long document that he wrote, he basically gravitated and utilized that. And that was a rally cry that he was attempting to promote, is that. And when you see the live stream, that's exactly what you see. So I say our people have to have a defensive posture no matter what we armed with. And one part of the training that we give as the Panthers is we talk about what we refer to as toys, which is tools of your surroundings. We are at war, we're in a combat zone, whether people want to recognize it or not. So any and everything within your environment must be used for your defense. Otherwise, your enemy will use it. So what I say from that standpoint is, going back to what Brother Osar talking about, we have to study weapons, tactics, and learn and train, but we also have to recognize that at any given time, your environment needs to be also used as a defensive tool for your situation, and have situational awareness of you, where you are, and be able to capitalize off of that situation, because things like this can happen and will continue to happen. And if we're not prepared for it, we'll find ourselves in this boat. I may not necessarily have my weapon on me in the event something like this happens. But like I said, a can of beans can do a lot of justice if you know what you're doing. And I've been in situations where I've had to use my environment to protect me, and it has saved my life several times without speaking on it. But the point is, we all have to have a defensive posture, and we have to have that mentality. And so I just want to make that clear, is that regardless of the gun laws in your state or where you are, there's so many things within your environment that you can use to protect yourself, and you can use in a defensive position when need be.
A screwdriver is common. A hammer is common. You understand what I'm saying? My aunt is crazy. She used to we used to work for a security company, and she kept a damn hammer, you know what I'm saying, in a drawer. And she was like, "You come in here, you want to, I'll bust your head to white meat." You know, it's funny, but it was a tool. She couldn't have a gun in the office. She had a fucking hammer. But we have to think like that. And that's something that has to be brought up. This is something that we have to teach our children. We have to teach our children situational awareness. You know, how many people go in a grocery store looking at their phones, picking up a magazine, reading through the magazine? You understand what I'm saying? not paying attention, not seeing a guy coming in there with the camouflage or the trench coat in 90-degree weather.
See,
It's
that's
just situational awareness, man. You know, and just having situational awareness might give you that 5-second, that 10-second window to move, you know, but it has to become a culture of teaching warriors, you know, teaching them at an early age, because this guy, he's a young guy. Kyle Rittenhouse was a young guy. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter your ideology. It doesn't matter, you know, white supremacists, whatever. We're living in those times. I mean, a black man just shot up the damn train in New York. What's up with that? You know what I'm saying? We're not focusing on the brother just shot the fuck up out the train. We weren't talking about, oh, what we need to do. We weren't talking about that a couple of years ago, but the white boy come and do it. But what I'm trying to tell you, it doesn't matter if he's white, black, brown, yellow. I don't give a fuck. The enemy, you gotta be, it ain't just always a white boy that's gonna do you. And as black people, we go through the shadow of the valley of death all the time because we go amongst our own people. And I guarantee you, 95% of the time, just me getting back from the house, if I'm going around my people, I'm looking forward to jump out. Me and my queen were just in Houston. Some dudes in Houston got into it at the grocery store. I'm looking at them, I'm telling her, we got a buggy on the north side of Houston. I know what the north side is in Houston. I know this ain't the neighborhood. I got my thing on me, and I'm telling her, no, you're not watching what's going on. I'm listening to these dudes get into it, and I'm like, I know what's fixing to happen next. After the argument, it's gonna be the fight. After the fight, it's gonna be the gunplay. And this is happening in a grocery store that has armed security and an armed police officer. And guess what? And I got my gun on me, but I'm not looking for the fucking armed security to defend me. I'm not waiting for the police in there with the armed security to defend me. I know that the probability of me and my queen getting up out that motherfucker is going to be the rounds I put down on these motherfuckers. It's real, man. No matter where you at, bro, or once our own people, stop looking for the white supremacists or the white guy, the boogeyman. Shit, when we practice self-defense, we practice self-defense. You better get that color shit out your head.
I don't, you know what?
You will freeze. I'm gonna say this, young, and you go. You will fucking freeze if you're looking for the threat that just comes from black people.
I think that's, in my opinion, I think that's one of the problems. I think one of the problems is with white supremacy is not just the effect that it has on white people, but the effect that it has had and continuously has on us. You know, we have to ask ourselves, why wasn't at any point in time this white boy strange in the community? It's the same thing with Ruth Dillon. He went to a black church and knocked on the door. I'm willing to guarantee when he went to that black church and knocked on the door, Negroes was happy. They thought they had delivered. Oh, a white boy that came to fellowship with us. White boys, I've seen the police playing a sting. You know, I live in the hood that is slowly becoming gentrified. But before it really was, I have seen the police playing sting operations on the so-called trap. You know what it is? And these undercovers be white boys in plain clothes and begin to get assault rifles and put on, much like the shooter. You know what I'm saying? And we're accustomed to seeing that. We don't question. We can see a white boy walk down and we will naturally assume that's SWAT or that's some type of authority or that's some type of, when do we get to the point when white people are not when? One of the things I advocate, especially as a black nationalist, and this is talking about community control and not just politically, tangibly, materially, but also psychologically. It has to be odd. We have to begin to teach our children again that white folk are our enemy. I think we are more observant in black neighborhoods and around our own than white people. We let them get away with absolute murder until they actually murder us. We have bought into, honestly believe the multiculturalism and the whole, and I hate to use this word kumbaya, but we're all accustomed to it, the whole kumbaya. You know what I'm saying? We better watch everybody. We still, I think, have to put emphasis on white people. And in concluding this whole statement, as far as being a natural inherent enemy, for lack of better words, and then in concluding this statement, this is because this is natural for them. This is what white people do. What that white boy was going through was a psychological break. in a way trying to adjust with his rites of passage or his place in this world. White people have always defined their maleness, their dominance, their superiority, their self-worth, whatever, through control, murder, conquest, or whatever. This is how they have defined themselves throughout. This is their met. They have war heroes. They make monuments and you know, tributes and all kind of little trinkets and shit to just barbarians and savages. This is what they do. So this is what we see. I couldn't agree with E. Moore when he said that. I don't think, you know, I think you're right. This is the state's way to justify more intense probing and taking the rights of the people. We talked about the gun control. You know, I think that's just a BS of the state to disarm the masses of the people, you know, to take the rights of the people should there ever come a time when the masses wake up and understand how oppressive this state really is and find out who the real enemy is the state. Even what we see the actions of this dude, I blame it on the state. I blame it on the state. You know, so that's, yeah. So in a nutshell, that's what it is. I don't think we as Black people in our participation in internationalism and revolution, like Brother E was saying with the Palestinian people, other people, man, we have yet to crystallize or if we're getting close to coming together and working together enough to put our struggle on an international scale that says that, you know, an international scale, not just to be addressed, but also socially, so that in a teaching that says, and I hope I'm not all over the place, in a teaching that says, yo, these are inherent enemies. This dude in our stores, these people around us like this in this proximity, our spidey senses should be tingling. And if we don't translate that and start to transmit that to our children, we're always going to be prey. And it'll always be some white benevolent white person that can walk in and pull a Jim Jones on us, whether it be through sup Jim Jones Kool-Aid or through this cracker here who just walked in and blew a fuse. So to me, that's the effects of white supremacy.
And let me say this, Ian, I'm gonna let you come in. I just want to make this one. I'm gonna do a war. You know, war like to point out things. I want to make this point that Brother Saw said earlier. I think that the organizations and the people need to be aware of this. You know, he said that the goal of the Panthers, the goal of the different formations, the goal of the gun clubs is not to become an occupying security force in the Black community. The goal is for those brothers and sisters to gain the training and gain the knowledge to teach it to the people. Those groups are in your community to teach the arts of self-defense, the science of politics, and things of this nature to the people. And the people will gain something from gaining those lessons and removing itself from that misogynistic complex that a lot of times we go through. We steady looking for somebody to save us and protect us. Those organizations were never formed to be an occupying army. Those organizations were formed to teach the people the art of revolution. Well, go ahead, Brother E.
So to put it all in perspective, and I hope this pisses off Brother Yanger because I need somebody to bounce off of. It all comes back down to, I'm gonna say it again. I don't give a damn if you like me or not. It all comes back down to culture. All of it. Everything that's said, everything that ain't been said. Because the reality of it is culture ain't got nothing to do with a kente cloth, a kufi, or a dashiki, Swahili, hip hop, and none of the rest of it. That's not culture. Those are expressions of culture. Just as I have artwork on my wall, the artwork ain't my fucking culture. The African lifestyle and the essence of who it is I am is being expressed through the pictures that I make, just as the kente and the language and the dance and all of those things are expressions of what it is that we're made of and where our minds are. In saying that, we have to understand racism, white supremacy is a culture. It is a system that has created a culture. Anything that goes on, racism, white supremacy does not exist over there, over there, over there. Racism, white supremacy maintains and manipulates everything that you fucking do. from the time you go to sleep to the time you wake up, to the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep. Everything that you're involved in is influenced, manipulated, and controlled by racism, white supremacy. You give me an area of human activity, I'll show you the racism and white supremacy. And the reality of it is the fact that we're not, and I agree 100% with brother Asar, and I wish I had gotten taken better advantage of his brain back in the day and gotten more from him. But I agree that we need to be aware. You can't anticipate random acts of violence. You just have to know they're going to happen and be prepared to respond in that moment. But because we don't have a culture of self, because we don't have our own minds, like Malcolm said, you left your mind in Africa. We've taken on the culture of the oppressor. And we talked about the oppressor is white folks who I've been told by others have no soul. You know, we say that all the time. They like to ask, what is soul music? What is soul? If you got to ask what soul is, you ain't got one. So the reality of it is, this is their culture and we've taken it on. Now, we can't be, because their culture is to maintain themselves in the position of primacy, of being superior. We can't be that just by the nature of the beast. We can't be white supremacists because we're not white. We can't oppress. We can work on behalf of, but we can't be them. So what do? We play our part. In order for racism, white supremacy to work, again, remember, it exists for the manipulation and control of non-white people. So in order for us to fit into that system, the only part that we can play is that of the slave. The only part, in order for this to be maintained and exist as it is, there has to be a master, there has to be a slave. We're not the master. So obviously we're the slave. What does the slave do? The slave looks to the master for the food, for the clothing, for the shelter, and for the security. So every time something goes on, we look to them for our security. We want to feel safe, not be safe, because safety comes from within. It comes from knowing your environment. These martial artists and whatnot, the really good ones, Silva and all of them, you know, that's my favorite, Spider Silva and whatnot. These martial artists and whatnot don't walk around cussing people at the good ones, walk around with all on their chest because they know I'm good. Something happened, pop off, I'm good. I know what to do. They have a humility that's fed by their confidence and their knowing that they've got this shit under control. We don't have any of that because we constantly look to the oppressor to maintain our feeling of safety. Again, not being safe, but feelings. I hear that all the time. People say, I just want to feel safe. Fuck your feelings. There is no safety except that. That's the only safety, in accepting that you're not safe. They threw behind this abortion, Roe v. Wade. They haven't even come out with the decision yet. It's just been leaked. That's probably the way it's going to go. This is the writing and all. It's just been leaked. These white folks sat up and threw, you know, they started protesting and shit. And what got me, and I told you about this war, I pointed this one out and said this is looking more like the Gaza Strip. And I wasn't saying the intensity, the level, I'm saying the tactics. When's the last time you heard of some white folks throwing Molotov cocktails into a church or whatever building that was? That's not something that typically we hear about. You know, and when you have people in the federal government calling for, you know, Democrats saying, oh, Republicans need to be basically designated as terrorists. You know, this whole MAGA thing, they need to be designated as terrorists. The last time white folks were at each other like that, just on a verbal, and remember, the first thing you do in order to get rid of your enemy is to what psych? Bring them down in the eyes of the people. So this verbiage that they're using is inflammatory. And the last time it got like this was just prior to the Civil War. So we have to remember, we're in a war, we're behind enemy lines, but we're not the ones at war. They're at war to maintain what it is they've established. And that's why I've been an advocate for quite some time. Number one,
doesn't that put us at war, though?
Say again?
That kind of puts us at war.
Well, we're only at war when we're fighting back. I mean, if I come over there, it's like if I come to somebody's house and just beat the slap shit, snot, you know, beat them silly, that wasn't no fight. I beat you up. We getting beat up, but we're not at war.
Oh,
there's a difference. So So while we sit back, it's like what they say back home. I say back home. I mean Africa. Back home, they say
so what's happening to us as a slaughter? So you're just saying we're being slaughtered.
We're being slaughtered. When the elephants rumble, when the elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. That's what happens. We're the grass. We're suffering. We're not fighting. We might box each other a little bit. We're not at war. Come on, let's be honest about it. We're not at fucking war. We're getting slaughtered. We're getting beat up and shot and murdered at will. That's not a war. Ukraine is war because Ukraine is killing some Russians. Russians killing some Ukraine folks. That's a war back and forth. It's a give and take. Right now, all we're doing is giving. We did giving fertilizer for the land. That's all we're doing. We're making contributions and donations to their cause. So we're not at war, and we won't be at war until we have something to fight for. And the only thing that we have to fight for is the culture of self. I'm not talking about, music. I'm not talking about how you dress, what language you talk in. I'm talking about the essence of who we are. We've lost sight of that. And when the people have no idea who they are, why the fuck would they fight for it? We have no idea who we are, so we don't fight for who we are. So I'm with the whole self-defense. I've never stepped back from picking up a rifle. I have no problem with that. But the reality of it is, a fool with a gun is a dangerous thing. And right now, we some fools. We don't know shit about ourselves. So of course, we're not going to fight to maintain our communities, because fuck it, our communities are full of crackheads and dope dealers and prostitutes and all this other negative shit. Why would I fight to maintain that? Like y'all like to say, we do this for the people as an ideal. And the ideal is that we're greater than this bullshit that we see. We have one of our major problems is generational memory. We remember our father. As old as if our father was 25 when we were born, we remember 25 years ago, because we can go talk to him and he can tell us about what it was 25 years before we were born. We don't remember 200 years ago because we have no generational memory. We have no idea of what African people actually are. We just see niggas that's been niggerized, that's been getting treated like niggas, and that's all we ever gonna be. Why the fuck would you fight for niggerdom? I wouldn't fight for niggerdom. I'm not signing up for that shit. If that's all I could perceive, I would have never done none of this shit. But the reality of it is, we have so much more to offer as a people, but we don't know that. So we're not gonna fight for that. We identify with our oppressor and their culture and where we fit in. Stokely Carmichael said, all this integration talk, we've been integrated since we arrived here. So all that integration is bullshit. When they talk about integration, remind some folks, we were integrated because integration just means basically getting in where you fit in. And where the black folk in this country fit in, where have we always fit in? On the bottom rung as slaves. So we were integrated from day one. But socially, they gave some things, some concessions and whatnot, because they were working on their master plan. But we fell for the okie doke because we had no culture, and we accepted the slave or the oppressor's culture, which told us this is your position, you're integrated, you're a part of it. And
I don't know. I think that's trivializing it. I don't think it was that simple. I do believe that happened, but since the time of since 1865, the time of the so-called emancipation of Black people, we've always had an alternative ideology. We look at it. We just weren't taught it as revolutionaries. We look at the likes of Martin Delany. We can't. You know what I'm saying? Who was Frederick Douglass's peer? We've always had that separatist revolutionary. We gotta get the fuck out of here. We can't. These people are the devil. They are evil. They will gobble us. And just like any oppressor who understands that you have to give the oppressed people some breathing room, they got behind the whole assimilus or political integration. If you say we were integrated when we came here, then I'll say political integration. They got behind the whole political integration movement. You know what I'm saying? They gave us the John Browns and all of these other people like you that are undeniable in history, to distract from the separatist movement or the determinist movement. So, I don't know.
But again, I'm not saying we didn't have ideologies, but understand and remember, Abraham Lincoln was a separatist. Abraham Lincoln tried to send African folks who had been they put together some money, bought some slaves, and talked to a cat in Florida and was like, yeah, you got a boat, send them down there to Haiti.
Again, that's trivializing it. There again,
how's that trivializing? I don't understand how that's trivializing.
Because if we say, Abraham Lincoln was a separatist, but when we talk about, we can't deny he's a what type of separatist? I'm not the same separatist as Abraham Lincoln is.
I didn't say he was the same.
What I'm saying?
I didn't say it was the
Exactly.
same.
That's
I'm
what I mean.
saying
So
that,
that's what I mean by it's oversimplifying it. If we're talking to the masses of people who don't know, and we just throw it out there, where Abraham Lincoln was a secessionist, he did free black people, then that kind of leads towards a certain thinking, or to me, that's implying. You know what I'm saying? It kind of just it leaves a certain connection that I just don't believe is there.
well, we can't delve into each example with the fullness that it deserves in one show. So I don't think that it's trivializing it at all. I'm not saying that we didn't have separatist ideologies of individuals.
America. Abraham Lincoln was, let's say, his base and core interest was America. We had separatists from back in the day, like I said, not just the one that keeps popping in my head, and it must be that Gungu, the ancestor Martin Delaney must be just howling.
Yeah, go back to Africa.
Martin Delaney.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even that time Martin Delaney had moved to Canada. And he was advocating, you know, shit, he was like anywhere but there.
I know what
that would, huh?
Y'all know what that means? Y'all probably can't see it. I'm holding a good talk. Time is up. Let me say this, and I'm gonna let you give a plug, Yang, and then I just want to bring one quick point.
I don't like you.
Yeah, like you playing a ukulele.
This is what we've been trying to do. It's the Thriller in Manila, goddammit.
That's the plug I want you to give. What YouTube channel should you and E be going on and having this discussion right about now?
You are right. We're gonna have to, E and I, and then man, thank the Panther 48 for always having me on this. We're gonna set it up on my channel, Yang and Kruma. You have to come to that because this is a great discussion. So Yang and Kruma, we're gonna set it up on my channel and we'll put the date and time out there.
Okay, let me say one thing real quick. I don't usually make things plain, and that's intentional. But I brought up the idea of a can of beans because back in the day when I was in my 20s and early 30s, in my car, I used to carry around canned goods. And a lot of y'all didn't know why I carried canned goods. I carried canned goods because it is very important to know the power. And you probably can't see that. The power of this can of black beans. A can of black beans can fracture a skull. A can of black beans can knock somebody out. A can of black beans can do just as much damage within a 25-yard radius as a weapon, as any handgun, if you know what you're doing. And I say that because I believe, and I used to train, and I continue to train with that mentality, because again, when we talk about having a defensive posture, people need to recognize that your environment is always able to be utilized to help you defend yourself. A can of black beans would stop a gun battle when somebody who think that they get stepping into a situation where they're gonna have a free fall and be able to shoot everybody around them. A can of black beans floating through the air, hitting that head just right, or hitting that throat just right, would be able to give me the necessary advantage that I need to take down somebody who had every intent of coming in my community and assaulting me. Knowing that you're gonna wake up and you woke up from a can called Negro coming across your head is very important. So if nothing else, as we start talking about solutions during our conversation, I want to say, and then you can speak next, E. I want to say that our people need to know the value of training within your environment, to have everything within your environment being used for your environment, for your benefit. And so I literally would train with a can of beans and a few other items, but a can of beans, and specifically, as I'm talking about this example, as targets to be able to defend myself in situations. And I just wanted to throw that out there because we want to make sure our people start developing a defensive posture, and that it's not always about firearms, but it's about being able to defend yourself and have that mentality and train that way. Because if you don't train that way, then what happens when your adrenaline gets to rushing, you're going to be one of the ones that run instead of knowing how to stop and defend yourselves. So we have to train ourselves to be in a defensive posture. Otherwise, when actually involved in this type of situation that we're talking about, you ain't gonna know how to respond. And all you're gonna do is run and crawl like a bitch. So
let me say this, boy, before you throw it to them. My point of comment is this, man, get trained up, get some good training, get out there, get practical training. And United States Marine Corps Code of Ethics, be kind, be courteous, but if need be, have a plan to kill every motherfucker in the room. Live by that.
Hold on for y'all continue. I just want to say this. If there's anybody watching and you want to join into the Zoom conversation, the link is in the YouTube description box. Go ahead, E.
Oh, I just had a question for Ward with your can of black beans. Would the self-defense work just as well with a can of white beans?
It would, but
good question. Good question.
my point would be, I love the can of black beans because it also has black and it says Negro on the back too. They say Caucasian. The Navy
That's the most profound revolutionary concept I've ever heard in my life.
In
I'm gonna hit
your
you
life.
with this can of beans because it say Negro on the back. What the fuck?
Now check this out. War is not too far off, and he just proved something that that the brother Saul was talking about way early in the beginning of the conversation. And hence War's whole thing about turning a can of beans into his weapon for self-defense is why in Texas prisons they outlawed canned goods.
Right.
They started putting all the used to be canned food in pouches. That's why they got rid of all the canned goods, because they were the weapon of choice.
You're good to know.
Yes, I just wanted to add that. I did want to add a little bit of what they call it, urban legend to the conversation tonight.
Yeah, that's so can.
Mhm.
Well, shit, y'all, what you stop for so we can be quiet? What the hell? What'd you stop the conversation? Me and Yank was having fun. I think I agree with Ostar. I'm gonna put it a little bit more frankly and put it in my own words. But the reality of it is the concept is still sit down, shut the fuck up.
The concept is it's time to learn something.
Yeah, so with that being stated, as we talk about our people recognizing the patterns, let's get in a little bit of that. The patterns of what we're dealing with as a result of this whole replacement theory concept. What are some of the anybody can just jump in? What are some of the clues and keys that the people should be aware of in terms of these things that may potentially be happening like this? For instance, you talked about how the white dude wore a hazmat suit to school. Why kind of stuff like that not being looked upon as being flags by the people in the school, the other children, or again, like stated earlier about went back to the grocery store 3 different times, and Yanga said why we don't check folks in our community, why we don't take ownership of our community and recognize that. From that standpoint, then we would have already saw what was about to happen. Something we may not have known he was going to come through the store with a Bushmaster, but we would have damn sure known it was something being plotted. So what is it?
You know what's so cold? I'm gonna let somebody else get in a minute and build on it if y'all want to. But you know what's so cold? In the hoods, we understand this concept when it comes to looking at us. When it comes to being aware of us, we understand it.
Right.
Somebody come to Stop 6 and they from the South Side, you instantly know he's not from Stop 6. He don't have to have on anything to say he's from the South Side. You look at him and and you approach him and you like, what's up, homie? What's your business over here? What you doing over here? If you from Dixon Circle and you walking through Bunton, you instantly know that this dude is out of place. And in these different places and neighborhoods and different communities, and like the ghetto boy said, the world is a ghetto. This is in any majority Black neighborhood anywhere in the country. You'll find this type of quote unquote politics going on, where you actually have to have a pass in some places to come through. You don't just walk through without having approval first. But this white guy is able to walk in and nobody noticed the guy. You know what I'm saying? And that leads to that question, why? Because the brothers talked about it. Yanga talked about it. The brother Asar talked about it. But why is Black people's mind going like this?
I just fucking told you.
And
what I was to say, crazy man.
Psych. And Psych, let me throw this in here real quick. Exactly. And here's the crazy thing. We subjugate one another to that type of stuff, and we ourselves are even accepting of it. We won't go into white neighborhoods or particular white stores because of the scrutiny. We're used to it. We've come to accept it as a part of our reality. And we won't make white folk feel no kind of way for scrutinizing us. We understand if we go in this all white neighborhood, this predominantly white store, whatever, that they're going to look funny, they're going to treat me funny, I don't even go there. Yet and still, if you begin to practice this same philosophy, this same methodology, rather, they have done such a thorough job in indoctrinating us in the bullshit. We will actually begin to feel guilty for scrutinizing white people, so much so that you will have some up and might even try to fight you. Leave that white man alone. He can shop in here if he want to. You might, I mean, these Negroes go through changes. This is how thorough. You talk about the indoctrination of white supremacy. So when we talk about, I love what we're talking along the same lines of empowering the people through education. Yes, we train them about defense. Yes, we train them to be up on their P's and Q's. But if we don't train them who the enemy is, or who the enemy has the potential to be inherently, it ain't about them being bad or nothing like this. It's about them being participants in the system. Like my man E was saying, well, I kind of disagreed on the chess game when he was like, a pawn isn't the chess. And he's right. So, but white supremacy is the player that moves the pawn. White supremacy moves the pawn. The pawn of itself isn't independent. It is a part of white supremacy because it is an instrument of it. Anything, I think we did agree on that. Anything is an instrument. So the pawn can be just as deadly as the queen in the right hands. So I'm saying that to say white supremacy, even from a subject of white supremacy, has thrown us. So I call into question, why can we accept it for ourselves to be ostracized, ridiculed, criticized, looked at funny, followed, just intimidated in their neighborhoods, but then find it so hard to grapple with the concept of putting them in a category of potential harmful and danger, and then having our social actions, our interactions with them reflect what the fuck we think of them. Why are we so apologetic for saying you people historically have been monsters to us and we don't fucking trust you? So when we see you, we're always leery. I don't understand what the problem is with that.
Lack of culture of our own.
And I'm gonna jump in to say this. I remember we did the Millions More movement, and we came up with something called a ministry. We're gonna have the ministry. It was the Nation, the Panthers, the Nationalists. But there was a Ministry of Defense, and the Ministry of Defense. It was broad stroke, and it might be anybody who wanted to be a part of the coalition. Panthers, Nation, this, that, and that. And I heard Minister Jeffrey say, we have people that come in our Black communities that so-called spray for in South Dallas. We have trucks that just drive through our neighborhoods spraying this mist. And we don't even go out there and say, hey, you know what I'm saying? Who are you? Oh, it looks like I'm the man that's spraying, but we don't even check them. Going back to what you guys are talking about, they can come amongst us and we give them a pass and they can do what they want to do, but that was critical thinking and organizing to say, man, at some point in time, I don't know how we train the populace to do it, but that's the thinking, is that we don't trust our own people. So like y'all are saying, why do we trust Whitey? Why do we trust the white boy to come in the top store and talk about he's taking a census? He could be, but we really don't question it. Or the nice Black man that sat down and had a conversation with him, and he was the first Black man, and we talked about philosophy, we talked about quantum theory, we talked about race relations, because he had a genius t-shirt on, and I wanted to know what he was a genius. That Black man did 4 or 5 interviews because they wanted to know inside the psyche of him. Jumping. There was a question posed earlier where everybody in the hood says, why don't white supremacists hit the hood? Why they only pick, the churches and that? Well, going back to terrorism, Warlock hit on terrorism. Terrorism is a psychological operation unto itself to conflict mass casualty, but to put a psychological fear-based, letting you know you're not safe, your children is not safe. So the white boy is not going to the hood where he knows there's Dracos and AKs and Pookie Ray strapped, everybody strapped. He's going to pick something that we call a soft target. A grocery store is a place that people let their guard down. I'm going to shop, I will be okay. But I don't go to Walmart without my shit on me. because I know there's no such thing as a soft target when you know that you're at war. Going back to E, our people don't realize that we are at war. When a black man wake up in the morning, put his clothes on to go to work, kiss his children, his wife goodbye. When he goes out that fucking door, he's going, you know what I'm saying? And so he might not fucking make it back. Straight the fuck up. You always gotta be in the mentality that you are war. But I agree with E. Also, a war is engagement. War ain't no one-way strike. You strike me, we're at war. No, we're not at war unless we're both trading. Now we're at war. Other than that, we're just letting you put genocide on us. Third point I'm going to make. Going back to war stories, well, there was a white supremacist group called Bear, and they came to Texas, and they was in the Plano Mosque, and they was coming out there with their AK-47s, and they would come to the masjid in Richardson and was pretty much terrorizing masjids. So after they did Plano and Irving, they set their sights on South Dallas, Muhammad Mosque 48, which I'm a registered member of. But I don't prescribe to, I don't carry weapons anymore. I don't prescribe to that. I prescribe to armed self-defense and struggle. So when they came in the community once, we repelled them, but they let it known that they were coming again. What we did at that time, we knew that we were going to take a defensive posture, but we did the whole gamut of an operation. We let the community know that on this day, at this time, there's going to be some white supremacists that's going to march down the street with guns. And we're inviting you as the community to come out. Now on that, helicopters, SWAT, mounted police, surveillance, state, federal law enforcement was there. You're talking about a web and gamut of security, police, and counterintelligence on one operation. That day, we repelled them because the police told them the crowd had started swelling. It wasn't us. Our operation probably consisted of 25, 3P New Gun Club, New Black Panther Party, this organization, but it was the people that repelled them because the crowd, as the day went on, 300 or 400 more people from South Dallas came down there with their shit and repelled them. Now that's an example of engaging the community and letting them know it ain't our fight. We're going to stand out here, but these motherfuckers is coming in y'all hood. They letting you know they come to y'all hood. They giving you the time of day. We're going to be out there once you come join us. And at the end of the day, it was a victory, not our victory. We said it was a victory for the people. We have the examples to do it. But we've got to get out the fucking mindset, man. The psychological mindset that ain't gonna happen. It could never happen here. Motherfucker, it could jump off anywhere, anytime, any day. Thanksgiving, holidays, it doesn't matter. You're not safe. You've got to be your own defense. You've got to be your own protection. I can't say it enough, man. Get the training. Get the psychological, because the war is mental before it even goes physical. Understand that you're at war. If motherfucker, you don't understand you at war, then you are already behind. You've got to get that mindset that anytime you walk into that motherfucking grocery store, or no matter where you're going, you could be going to the fucking movie theaters. Name one place they ain't shot the fuck up in a mass shooting.
And real quick, E, I think it's important, brother Osar. You referenced that particular movement that was developed. That's when the first time you met me, right?
Which one?
In Mosque 48, when you was talking about how they were forming those committees, the defense committee. That's the first time you met me.
Yeah. And that's funny.
Yeah. Speak what happened when you met me, just so we talk about the defense.
Oh man, you know, when I met War for the first time, man, I'm a young FOI. I'm on check posts. I can check real good. So, you know, I can pick up knives. I swear to God, this dude came with a ninja suit. I thought he motherfucker had a ninja suit on. I mean, black baggies, ninja top, beard, skull. I already knew this motherfucker right here ain't nothing to play with. But when I was checking him, every time we grab a knife or a gun, we holler check. and it was one knife. Searching, check. Second knife I found on him. Check. 3 knives. I didn't know who you was, bro, but I said, this motherfucker's dangerous. And later on, I was found that you were just a brother that was doing your own thing. And when we did that, we wanted to we did the first Million Man March, but I think we wanted 1,000-man army task force in the city of Dallas. And Robert showed up to that meeting, just a civilian, but already on some motherfucking shit. And that's when war was in it. And just so happened the new Black Panther Party was night. And our fates would cross later on, but that propelled you into the new Black Panther.
Yeah, and that was before I was with the new Black Panther Party. But the reason I'm speaking on that is that my mentality and my mindset was we are at war as a people. And at no point, no matter where you go, you need to have a defensive mindset. They constantly kept had to say check. There were certain things that was on me that was obvious that I had weapons on me, but there was other things that was not as obvious. So the reason I emphasize that whole can of beans thing is because too often people look at defense as just your traditional firearms. But again, we must train holistically in terms of warfare, even from a physical, mental, and spiritual standpoint. All three of those have their different degrees of defense that need to be taught on. When we talk about hand to hand, there are certain levels that you go into. You go into empty hand, and you go into your extensions of your hand, and then you go into your firearms. So from that standpoint, the individuals, we have to train and have a defensive mind state no matter what we're engaged in. If more of us thought that way, we would not be able to be penetrated no matter what environment we're in. And that's all I wanted to say on that.
So some psyops for you here to add more to this understanding is what Neely Fuller said, to encapsulate it. Until we understand racism, white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else that we think we understand is only going to serve to confuse us. We're going to keep asking the questions over and over, even though we know because it's right there in our face. We've been put through a process. And if we don't reverse that process and go back, we're not going to get out of the mess. And just to give another example of the importance, significance of culture, anybody answer this real quick. Don't give me no 30-minute lecture. I want a fucking number. What is the most, as members of the party, when we would go out and do a protest, what is the biggest number of people that you recall seeing involved, not standing on the side talking about men in black, all that bullshit, but actively involved, walking with us next to us? Give me a general number, the biggest number that you've seen.
You saying there was an active part of the organization, or
that was involved in a protest march?
In the protest itself.
Whether they were part of the party or not, but they were part of the protest that we were doing or somebody was doing. What's the biggest number of just black folks that you've seen?
I can't come up with a number, honestly, but I think it was in Jasper. And
just give me a roundabout. 10, 100, 200.
Yeah. And that was the masses of the people. It's kind of like what Brother Asar said. He said that it was only 25 actual soldiers and everything else was the masses of the people. So we went down there with I don't know how many we went down there with, but the mass majority of us that was there was just the masses of the people.
Right. So we're looking at maybe 200 people. Okay, let's round it up and make it real gratuitous. And we'll say 500 people at one rally, whether they were members of the party, whether they were nation, whether it was just, niggas from the block, just coming out and be a part of what was going on. We think that's a success. If we step back and look at that, we'll be like, yeah, man, we had 200 people. Wow. We feel good about that. Compare that, contrast that when you have an issue in Zambia or Ethiopia or Nigeria, and you have students 19, 20 years old, 18, 14 and 15-year-old kids, students coming out of schools to protest whatever it is that's going on. Now the cats over there will put up with some shit, but they put up with a whole lot less than what we put up with. So when they come out to protest, to march, you're looking at thousands of people Go back and go on YouTube and search for a protest in Soweto in South Africa, Zania, in any part, in any protest, any march that goes on the continent of just Africa. This applies to other indigenous places as well. But, you know, I'm gonna focus on Africa. So you look at the thousands upon thousands, not just students, but the principals, the teachers, the administration, all of these cats, thousands of people compared to a paltry 200, 300, 500 people that impressed us. When we're looking at the world stage and we see cats especially in Africa, when they move in mass, they move with intent, not spur of the moment. You don't get thousands and thousands of people to come out and support and to throw rocks at the police and to be willing to stand up and fight and engage like that without some type of cultural foundation that does not place them at the status of a slave. Those folk got shit to fight for. Those folk see themselves as part of a world conversation. They see themselves as important. They see themselves as having a voice. They see themselves as human beings who have a right to exist as human beings. African people in this country do not. That's the fucking problem. The self-defense and all the money and the capitalism and getting black businesses and all, that's great, that's wonderful. But if we don't have a concept of reality that places us as in the center of it, if we don't have a concept of reality that says that we're human beings and we're valuable and we're supposed to stand up and not be mistreated and beat the fuck up by the police, if we don't have a concept that says when somebody kneels on our fucking neck, there's no conversation to be had. Tamir Rice was 11 fucking years old when a cop rolled up, didn't say shit, shot him dead. 11 years old, and there was a conversation. What conversation needs to be had if you know that you're valuable, that you're a human being, that you're not supposed to be treated that way? There's no conversation. If someone comes and kicks in your personal front door, there's no conversation. What are you doing? Why are you kicking in my front door, man? I don't appreciate. There's no conversation. You in that motherfucker right there on the spot. But we don't do that because we don't believe that we deserve any better. It's just like that saying I've heard, we accept the love that we believe that we deserve. If love to us looks like getting our ass beat every day by our man or whatever, we accept that because we feel that that's the love that we deserve. Well, this is the life that we feel that we deserve because we have no concept. African people are fighters. We don't know that. We don't believe that because when we're taught Black history, we're talking about slaves and being brought over and all that. We're not taught about the rebellions and the refusal to go along. Those who jumped over the sides of ships, those who organized and fought back. We're not taught that because if we're taught that, then we're taught that, hey, Africans ain't just passive people that just got picked up and thrown into a cage. We're fighters and we're still fighters. We don't connect to that part of our energy and our spirit. So we go along with the slave complex, the slave mentality, and we end up getting armed either with weapons or with money or what a social position or whatever it is. And we allow ourselves to be used and sit up and actually have the nerve to take this chick, the new speaker, the press secretary for dumbass Biden, is his sister from Haiti. And she's touting her position. She got up in front of the world and told everybody, yeah, I'm the first gay Black immigrant to be in this position. Who gives a fuck? You're representing the enemy, the oppressor. You're looking like a fool. But we sit up and we celebrate this shit. And it makes no sense because we have no self-identity. We have no identity amongst ourselves that says that we are, number one, valuable. Number two, we are one people. We are the same people and we are connected and we deserve better than this shit. So as long as we believe that we're supposed to get bullshit, we're going to put up with bullshit. We're going to accept the bullshit. In fact, the best way to enslave a people is to get them to ask for it. So we're going to keep on asking for the bullshit because that's what we've been doing, is asking to be oppressed. And that's why I say we're not consciously at war because we keep asking to get our asses kicked. We request that shit like every day. Something happens with the police. Hey, we need to arm the police better. We need to have a review board. No, fuck, we don't need to have a review board. We don't check white people coming into our neighborhood because this is their neighborhood and we know it. We don't own shit. We ain't shit. We ain't nothing but slaves. They're supposed to come in. I can't question that. I'm going to question somebody who doesn't have any power, who can't really do shit. That's who I'm going to go after and attack. That's design. That's on purpose. That's not accident. Old dude shooting up in Buffalo is on purpose. They know that shit's gonna happen. They want that shit to happen. There you go, War. Stop playing that fucking guitar.
Now let me say this. Warden, pull his guitar out. We have 5 minutes left. 5 minutes. We got a sister that just came in. So if you want to say something to add to the conversation, unmute yourself and just come on into the conversation. And I wanted to say this, and as we're getting ready to close, I see the sister unmuted herself. Do you have anything you want to add to the conversation, sister?
I'm sorry, I tried to take the screen down, but I have my own program, getting ready to broadcast, so it's set up on the camera on that program. I just wanted to say this, Black Power, first of all,
Black
and
Power.
shout out to Brother Yanga. I want to say this, that I read I'm just gonna put it like this. I read the book just because I don't want nobody's channel to come down. Because then you say the actual words, they've been taking the channels down. I read the 180-page book, and the fact that I had a couple of thoughts on the kid. One, he knew exactly what he was doing. He plotted that out. Two, he went and he tracked it. He went and checked out the area. Why is he panhandling? Is my question. He's white, and he obviously could afford all that extra shit he had on when he went to school with the hazmat thing on. You know what I mean? He probably real privileged. I don't understand why he's doing that. It's not even an okay thing of recon. But the other thing was that the man that they gave all those interviews to, all he did was make some of us look real simple, by not questioning, by not wondering. I mean, even the conversational points that the gentleman was bringing up that they talked about was red flags altogether. We don't talk in our neighborhoods. We don't talk about critical race theory ever. You know what I mean? They're just stupid shit. And that, they I'm like, is that man even gonna show up at court? No, he's probably gonna go missing. Two, they're gonna give this dude a slap on the wrist. Well, he go ahead and he got away with murking like 11 of us. 10 or 11. They keep changing the news. So, I find it that all those people that that he happened to uh, take off the planet were just regular people, and he have no disregard. They handled him with kid gloves. They didn't do him like they would have done any of us. They continually track him through the jail and bring him to court all nice and neat. When old boy ran through the parade, he was a mess when they brought him into court. He was in a turtle suit and everything. This dude is just walking around like it's okay. And the police, our governments, everything that is supposed to allegedly was supposed to protect us and keep us safe. They didn't give a damn. They don't give a damn. And so when we talk about things like changing the policing system, abolishing and punishing them, like, I mean, really, like, I really strongly believe that a lot of people need to be held accountable for this. You know what I mean? And this isn't just in Buffalo. That same weekend, there was like 3 or 4 different mass shootings. You look at the news, it was Houston, I believe, California, I believe, and Milwaukee. And an extra shooting in Buffalo as well.
There's one in Dallas also.
Yes, Dallas. There you go. Sorry about that. Thank you, Brother Ward. It was endless. And all those, they weren't getting as much play. Curious why. You read one of them, the one in I think it was Houston or California. They had the Hispanics that got shot. They kind of just pushed that under the rug. This one is getting all the play because the kid put out a book. You know what I mean? 180-page book with pictures. And on the Discord of all things, y'all know about Discord. In the Discord owned by Black people? Question mark. It just seems like we're not, when we say we're at war, we have half of our Black family don't want to acknowledge it. They want to ignore it. They straight ignore it. They don't even take it seriously. Others take it seriously, but they're not serious enough, and then it's a small few of us out there that are really serious, talking about, look, we got to protect ourselves, we got to protect our family. We, at the same time, we got to watch out for them, because they're trying to hurt us too. Everybody, we're at war with everybody, and no one's taking it seriously enough. That was my big grief, and that's what I wanted to state, gentlemen. And thank you for having me on.
Hey, I do acknowledge real quick. I know who Seduction Doll is. I checked you out with the political education counselor with Brother Younger. So I appreciate you jumping on.
That's my teacher.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
And thank you very much, sister, for adding to the conversation. We got another brother just came into the conversation. K Moo. We finna get ready to close off. Did you want to add something to the conversation before we shut it down, brother?
Yeah, brother. I was listening to what you were saying about when you guys gather and it's like 25, from the formation, and then you got like the rest of the people are just the majority, just people, just that just show up on the spot. And we view that as a success. But, like you said, in Africa, they show up by the thousands and they show up in mass. And so what we're trying to do in Detroit, and what we have done, we've gotten thousands right now, and we're going to have thousands this year. And we've been doing it for the past 3 or 4, maybe 5 years, where we're trying to assert self-determination. So we had the people to withdraw their consent from the government, the local government. So because we know that the power is inherent in the people, and that the governed are governed by consent, we withdrew that consent and we voted for a new government. And we had more votes than the mayor had. So right now you have an illegitimate government in Detroit. And so what the feds told us is that we don't have enough guns. So we have to build the capacity to be able to effect the change that we need. We haven't been able to do that because it seems like the Panthers are afraid. Listen, brother, I ain't gonna even say his name, but one of the brothers, who's supposedly the leader of the Panthers, said that, well, he wasn't coming to Detroit to show up for nothing like that. He wasn't gonna risk his life to help the people become independent. And brother said that. So I'm just saying, I want to invite you guys. I threw some things there in the chat. We have meetings Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, discussing the right of self-determination. I have many documents, brother. If you get in touch with me, I'm going to send you some documents. I'm pretty sure you're probably aware of most of these documents yourself, because I can tell by the way you speak. But in the event you're not, I do want to drop some of these documents on you so you can see what's going on, man, and why and how we have that regime to have to make self-determination. We have a regime, we have a jurisprudence that that's outside of the local jurisprudence. You know what I mean? We have a jurisprudence that we can use and move in. We don't have to operate within this system or within this. We have to drag them outside of their jurisdiction. You know what I mean? And we can do that.
Brother War.
Yes, sir.
But you don't know the brother K Moo, do you?
No, I don't. But what I was gonna say, brother, go ahead. Organization, and I do want. We don't represent all the Black Panther Party. We basically the chapter of the new Black Panther Party from back in the 90s and early 2000s. But things don't always stay the same. And I'm currently with the San Diego Black Panther Party and the People's Black Panther Party. So not all Panther formations and Panther chapters are the same. So I do say and apologize on behalf of being a Black Panther that unfortunately not all of us are where we should be. But with that being said, brother, what's the name of your organization so we can go ahead and help promote that?
we're just human rights policy officers. We're registered with the United Nations, so they can't really do anything to us. Like I said, we're outside of their jurisdiction. So if they do arrest us, they're going to have to bring us into a tribunal as prisoners of war, because, like the brother said, we're at war, and that's how we're operating. We're operating from that standpoint, is that we want the right to self determination, as you have the government or the United Nations has stated that we are Afro descendants and we have that right to self determination. All people have rights to self determination, as it's covered in the covenant of what was that covenant? The covenant of, I'm gonna send you those. Like I said, I'm gonna get those documents to you guys. I think it's the covenant. I can't even call the name right now.
Brother
But I
KB,
have
why don't
all of
you
those.
in the chat, why don't you leave us your email address and we'll get it to Brother War so we can be able to get in contact with you, and then we can communicate then, because now is not the space or the time for us to have a dialogue that needs to be
Shut,
had. But if you shoot that email address through the chat, we'll most definitely get in contact with you.
Brother Yanga got all of my
shout,
information, man. He
shout,
got
yeah,
my
man.
phone.
Listen, I was handling a million things, man. Shout
Brother Yanga freezing up on us.
out to my man K Move. I thought I heard. Oh man, am I still freezing?
Okay, you back now.
Listen, that's what's going on, man. I'm having bad connection problems. But I wanted to send a shout out to K Moo. I thought I heard seduction on here. If I heard seduction, man, shout out, yeah, to our Colorado representatives, man, that represent the People's Party. I'm going in and out. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna quit torturing myself. I'm gonna click out. But I appreciate all of y'all checking in, and I'm gonna repost it on our page. As always, man, thank you, brothers, for having me.
We appreciate you coming on, bro.
In and out again.
All right. Well, we feel
Yeah, Brother Yanga, make sure you pass my. Tell Brother Yanga, make sure he pass my information on, man. Please get in touch with me, man. Please.
We got it. Once he let us know, that was basically what he was telling us when he let us know that he had contact with you and he had your information. But we're gonna get ready to close out. I want to say this before we close out. And if you got nothing else from the dialogue that we said today, I think it's very important to pay close attention to the part when Brother Saul was breaking down the things that you need to be aware of in those type of situations. And the mass of the people, the average mass of the people, need to be aware that if you have a Panther chapter or any self-defense group in your neighborhood or close to your community, you can walk to the door of that headquarters and say, hey, I need some self-defense training. That's what these organizations are there for. Walk up to the door and say, hey, I need to be taught what to do in the event of a mass shooting. And those brothers and those sisters are supposed to come to bat and show you what it is that you need to know. So walk up to them and let them know. And the organizations, representatives of the organizations that are listening, then you need to understand and know that that's your job and your responsibility. And if you don't know it or how to do it, then contact us and we'll plug you into the people that do know how to do it, because we try to make the connections with all the right brothers and sisters that can give you the training that you need to have. So don't have no problem, any problem whatsoever with contacting us to plug you into those brothers and sisters. We have a video that we did previously a few months back with Brother Saw, where he talked about it. He gave nice pointers on prepping and creating bug out bags. You might want to check that video out. And if you would like to see a video particularly dealing with the things that you should be aware of and the things that you should know when dealing with a mass shooting, then let us know in the comments and we'll get the right brothers together to put that video together for you. But unless anybody else has anything to say, we're going to get ready to sign out. Anybody want to say anything before I get ready to close it out?
Yeah, let me
I just
say.
want to ask you, brother. Go ahead, brother.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, we're gonna get Brother Osar back on to go over some more aspects of that prepping, because that's important that we continue to add to that thread on that note. So I do want to just throw that out there.
True indeed. True indeed.
Yeah. And Sister Elena Porter, I don't know if you guys are familiar with her. She runs the Pendo Center for Human Rights. She's having a think tank meeting with all of the nationalists, Panthers, anybody that wants to fight for self-determination. She's having a think tank meeting in Athens, Georgia. I don't have the date on me right this minute, but I can get all of that to you too, man. It'd be nice if you guys could show up for that. And Baba Lukata, are you familiar with Baba Lukata from the Republic of New Africa?
That sounds familiar when you said Babalu. Okay. I'm very familiar with the Republic of New Africa, but not a lot of the current membership.
Yeah, we're building, brother, across organizations. We're working with RICO, with the 21st Century. We're working with Elena Porter, Dr. Brooks Robinson, the Republic of New Africa, and Brother Ramsey Yunus. There's quite a few organizations and people that we're trying to pull into this thing, because it's the only way we're going to be able to affect power is in mass, like the brother Syke is talking about. And so we're trying to take these organizations and build a nucleus to spread this thing and make it metastasize all over the country. We're going to take a city.
Sounds great.
All right, then, people. This was your Panther 48 with special guest, Brother K Moo, Brother Saw, the Sisters Seduction Dog, and we had the Brother Chairman Yang on. Peace and power.
Peace and power.
Peace